Hey, Karen Julia here, and in this tutorial we're going to be walking through optimizing your Showit homepage step by step. So when you get a brand new design template, chances are it's not going to be optimized from an SEO point of view. So there's various different levels of that optimization. There's all the text labels on the page, there's the performance in terms of speed, there's the best practice guidelines and accessibility, and then there's advanced things like structured data. So we're going to be walking through each thing step by step, and I'm breaking them into different tutorials so that you can get to the one you want easier, and hopefully that'll just help you all out a whole lot. So in this tutorial, we're going to be just looking at text optimization from top to bottom, the whole homepage. Now, I have got my brand new design template. I'm just going to pop me in the corner and let's have a little peek at it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I got it from these guys. Tonic Site Shop. It's one of their one-page themes. I just needed something super simple. So if you've not seen their themes, go check them out because honestly, they're gorgeous. And I just fell in love with this as soon as I seen it. So let's go back to the homepage here. I've not done anything with this really other than switch out the photos to stock photos because I wanted to ensure that everything on here I had permission to use. So these are all stock photos that I've got the license for. And I just switched the text out to make it relevant to my business. I also set up the homepage in Spanish as well, because I'm doing a test on multilingual setups and Showit sites. But other than that, I've not touched a single thing in terms of labels. So we're going to just have a look at the back end. Now, before we dive into this, you do need a couple of tools. My eye is watering like anything. We do need a couple of tools. We're going to be using the Moz bar, and we're going to be using something called Lighthouse. Now, Lighthouse is a Chrome extension plugin from Google. So we're just going to spend the next 30 seconds talking about those. Fast forward if you've already got them. Quick tour. The Moz bar you can get from moz.com. Head to free tools. Click on the, Moz bar. And you can just click download Moz bar for free. It's a Chrome extension. You need to set up a free account. That's the short version, okay? The other tool that you're going to, I would recommend that you have installed before you get started with this is going to be Lighthouse. Now, Lighthouse is also a Chrome extension, but you can just head on over to the Chrome extension store. Type in Lighthouse. And it's this one right at the top here. So you're just going to install that as a Chrome extension, and you're going to need that as part of the homepage optimization. If you want to walk through this step by step with me to work on your own website. Okay, now we've got that out of the way. What we want to do is use these tools to have a quick look at our homepage and see where we're at in terms of labels and how much work we've got to do. So I've got the Moz bar already switched on here. I switched it on before the call because sometimes it's a little bit clunky and you have to like click it and click it again and then hit refresh and then click it again, see if it'll work. So if you're doing that and you're worrying it's just you, it's not just you. It's just a bit clunky, okay? So you're not doing anything wrong. So we're going to just click the page analysis button and have a look at our homepage. So we can see I've not set up the title yet. There's no meta description, and meta keywords not been found is a good thing. Google has not used those since like 2008-ish. So we don't want those anyway. So we get 10 out of 10 for that. If I had a glass of wine, I would have a sip, but I'm just going to have coffee instead. Now the next thing down is H1. And we can see here that there's a ton of text labeled H1. And we need to fix that because really, H1 is kind of like the chapter title of a book. It should really just be used for just the main title of the page. So the only thing that should be H1 on this page is the title right at the top, the Showit SEO part. Everything else shouldn't be labeled H1, and it's just going to make it harder for Google to understand. And just to explain why that's going to make it harder for Google to understand, Google does not see this gorgeous, beautifully coloured template theme. Google doesn't have this view. What Google can see is this. So if things aren't labelled right, or they're not quite in the right place, or you've got kind of stuff jumbled up, in terms of labeling, it just makes things confusing. And if Google can't understand the website properly or what's what, it's not really going to help in terms of you ranking well. So what we want to make sure of is that everything is labeled properly and organized in a structured way so that it's going to be clear to Google what the main purpose of the page is, where your subheadings are, where the menu is, that type of thing. Okay, so if we go back to this, we can also see our subheadings might need a bit of work. And apparently we don't have any alt text at all. So we've got some work to do. The Moz bar does not work with Showit. So what we need to do is switch it off when we're in the back end of our Showit site, and then switch it back on again when we're looking to see if we've tidied everything up. If we head over to Showit now and the Moz bar is switched on, you're just going to get a dark screen. So don't worry, you've not broke anything. It's just not compatible. There we go. So we can now go into the back end of our site, and what we could see there is that we have a ton of stuff labeled with H1 header tags. So we could go back and forward and check, but the best kind of approach I find is literally just to go through everything on the page and make sure everything is labeled properly. That way it's more methodical and there's not the back and forward. And because the Moz bar doesn't really work with Showit in the back end, it saves the whole switching it on, switching it off, switching it on for like the next half an hour. So we're just going to start at the top of the page on every single bit of text and check it's labeled properly. So we're starting at the menu. Now, the English and Spanish switcher should be labeled navigation. So we're going to go to text properties over on the right here, which you should be able to zoom in. And you see that's already labeled nav, sorry. So that's good. Now, the menu along the top is labeled div. So I'm going to label that nav for navigation. Okay, so you literally just select everything. And I'm going to do the main desktop site first, rather than doing the desktop and the mobile site at the same time. So we're just going to go down to the hero, and we're going to see, when we click on this now, that's labeled H1, that's absolutely fine. But this text underneath is also labeled H1, and this isn't really the header, it's just regular text. So a heading or a subheading really should have text underneath it. That would be a normal thing. So you don't want a whole bunch of just headings labeled at the top. It doesn't really make sense from a kind of organizational point of view. So we're just going to go ahead and change this to paragraph text. And we want to make sure that our buttons are also labeled paragraph text. These are H2 at the moment, and these are not headings with paragraph text underneath. So they're just buttons. I'm not going to label them navigation because I want Google to be clear about where the main menu is. And these aren't really the main menu, they're just buttons with links. So we're going to go ahead and label these with paragraph text. Okay, so as we move down the page, we just click on the next thing. Again, this should not be an H1 heading. And you notice when I change these, the style doesn't change. It's just the labeling in terms of what it is on the page. That shouldn't be that. Make that paragraph text as well. Now with these canvases, where there's maybe 2 or 3 or 4 different views, we want to make sure we go into every single one and check it. So this is more of a subheading than a main heading. So you see we've got a subheading here and then text underneath. So that is P, so that's good, that's fine. Again, the button is not a subheading, so we're going to label that paragraph text. Now to get into these other sections, we need to head over to the page, and you see we've got the view over here. So we're just going to click on the next view down, and that's going to load the other one up, which means we can go fix the text properties in there as well. So we're on H2 subheading, paragraph text, and paragraph for the button. So interesting, that was that looked like that was already on P, which is good. Okay, so that section's all done. So browse my SEO work, that's a subheading. So that should be H2. So you see these were all kind of like messed up a little bit. And then these are just buttons. So paragraph text is absolutely fine for them. And the service here, really that's an H3 because we've kind of got a subheading for that main section. And then these are like a section of the section. So these are labeled H3 already, which is awesome. We're not going to have to change anything there. And these are already paragraph text. I'm just clicking them to check. And the amount should just be paragraph text as well. So that's good. And I do need to switch out the testimonials, but we're going to change the text properties. So this is just paragraph text. We definitely do not want that looking like H1. Okay. So I think this text here was part of the contact. So that just seems like paragraph text to me. We don't want that being H1 either. Really, it's just paragraph text. And always remember to check the contact form. That's one that's like an easy one to forget, really. Okay, and we have tidied up our homepage. So we're going to go ahead and click publish. And now we should be able to go to the outside of the site. So we're going to just hit refresh here. And if we click on the Moz bar, hope that it works, we should have a much tidier result here. So we can see we missed some things. So we've been through the whole page, but these numbers, the 1, 2, and 3 numbers, and we've missed a testimonial. So that must have been like an extra canvas, which there was a slider there, so I totally missed that. So I'd recommend once you've gone through everything, you just refresh the page, publish the page, hit refresh, check it again, and you're bound to, usually there's always something that I've missed. So I just need to go back and change a couple of these little bits and pieces. So it's just these little numbers here. And we need to go into each one of our slides and make sure they're all changed here. So really this is a fairly simple process. It's just a little bit time consuming in terms of going through every single bit of text in the site and just really checking that everything is correct. So the other thing I think was the testimonial, which we need to remove anyway. I've not really told anyone about this website yet. It's brand new, so I've got a little bit of time to get those little bits and pieces corrected. Okay, let's see. Awesome, so we just need to change the @Photo SEO Lab, and somewhere it says thank you. I'm wondering if that's the link for when the form is completed. We'll have to have a little dig about and find that. But essentially, that is how you change all the text to make it so that Google can understand your website a bit better. So I think we've just got one more little bit left to find. Which I think is in this contact form. So I'm going to have a look at the canvas. Oh, it's the confirm message. There we go. So it's worth having a little dig about just to see what you can find. And I didn't realise there was also some social media links there, so I need to make sure that they're correct as well. So we're changing that from H3 to paragraph text, and that's also paragraph text, and I think that is us done. So I'd highly recommend you do this in every single page on your Showit site and make sure everything is labeled properly. It's just going to make it way easier for Google to understand, like, your headings and your subheadings, because Google is going to be looking for them. It's helpful in terms of understanding the page and the purpose of the website. So now that we have a nice kind of tidy labeled website, then we can start thinking about titles and meta descriptions and optimizing for speed performance and best practice guidelines and accessibility and all the other things. But I would highly recommend you prioritize the labeling first, because really anything else you do is not going to be as effective if the labeling is all over the place. So if you get that right and then build on that, then you're kind of sorting out the foundations of the page first. So labeling first, everything else after that. I'll see you in the next video.